Morning, everybody. Carter Wilkins, Nash, Stacy. We're here at Cute for Teams. Here to help you geek out, talk about best practices, maybe even talk about worst practices. But certainly here to help you with any questions you may have coming here today. So we're glad for our dedicated regulars here in the room, and then if there's anybody new, welcome as well, and if anybody's watching online, welcome. So you're certainly ready and open for any questions you may have, either in chat or you can come off mute and ask your questions. But yeah, we're here for you. I see the chat starting to populate there. And good morning, Nash.
Good morning. Oh, Kim's coming in hot with 2 questions right away. Thank you.
I know they're different, similar, but it's just 2 different things we've been talking about here. And if somebody else has something a little more important, feel free to defer this one. But
I would love to take those 2 things on if you want, and that'll give Ricardo a second to take a look at Glenn's question, which looks harder.
Yeah. So company communicator and employee ideas is what's in the chat, right?
Yeah. So Teams app templates and then Teams sample apps. Share your old screen out. App templates.
And we don't have either of these turned on. Employee ideas, people are asking, so we're going to turn this on for a small group of people. But company communicator is one of those things that we keep coming back to. So
I'm gonna talk about employee ideas first because it's related and in the same sphere of employee ideas, but very different in what we're talking about for level of effort and an ad. So we've talked about sample apps and template apps before, and I'll throw these 2 links in chat. App templates are solutions that Teams engineering has built in partnership with customers and published all of the source code to GitHub. So employee ideas started out as an app template. Company Communicator is an app template, right? Our engineering folks went and worked with customers to solve a problem, and we're like, yeah, everybody's got a problem that's either similar to this or just like it. So let's put the code out there so that people can either use it as is or use it and customize it to their individual needs. So app template, something where you can go and get all of the source code from GitHub and deploy it yourself. And I'll put the link in chat, app templates. Bloop. Okay. And I'll dip a toe in Company Communicator, right? Company Communicator, if I go get it on GitHub, we're going to see that I've got all of the source code, all the files, and detailed documentation, deployment guide, and most of them even have like an architecture document showing you like all of the pieces of it. Some of them are real simple. They're just a Power App, and maybe a Dataverse database or something like that. They're real simple. Company Communicator, complicated, not real simple, and everything in between. So we'll come back to Company Communicator, but this is an example of a complicated app template. Some of those app templates that are super, super simple, we went one step further, and instead of giving you the source code on GitHub for you to be able to go and grab and upload as a custom app to your tenant, we took some real common ones that aren't super complicated and turned those into sample apps. Sample apps are delivered from the App Store, right? It isn't something you got to download and upload a custom solution. These are just already there for you to choose to use as is from the store, just like the SharePoint app or the document library app. They're just there for you to go and grab. And they're also available as an app template. So if you want to use it straight out of the box, super easy to just treat it like any other app in Teams, right? Employee Ideas is available as a sample app for you to just manage like you manage the The Microsoft apps for forms or third-party apps like ServiceNow or whatever, they're just there in the store. Employee ideas is a really good example one. Issue reporting, milestones, the inspection app. These are all great things we see lots and lots of organizations use. Some of the preview apps aren't available in GCC yet, though. How do you differentiate these things? The sample apps and the app templates. The sample apps are just already there, delivered by Microsoft into your tenant. You didn't have to go and upload it yourself. And it could be both, right? If you do employee ideas just straight from the store and you're like, we'd love to change the branding or change the behavior of it, you can pivot. You can go grab that GitHub source code, change it the way you want, and update it, upload it as my organization ideas or something like that. Rename it, do whatever you want to it. It's an open source solution at that point. So employee ideas, super easy one. But you can peek under the hood. Like if we want to go look at employee ideas on the page for the actual original app template, there it is. Like we can still see what this looks like and an architecture document and see, oh, it's just a Power App, right? There's not really much to do here. It's using Dataverse and Teams to store the database. And yeah, it's a Power App. There's just not that much to it. So if there are other ones that we want to dive deeper into, we certainly can. Employee ideas really is about making it easy for direct and indirect leaders to solicit ideas and feedback from other people. So how do I get ideas on, whether or not this service offering is a good idea or working well for people, or what can we do to improve employee morale, or you name it. Just if you want a tool to be able to go and solicit suggestions, this is a great thing that's available as just a canned application to use out of the, as it is out of the box, or choose to go and customize it. So I'll throw the direct link here, employee. And we're very intentional, right? It's employee ideas, the sample app, not the app template. You don't have to do all the work. I'll paste that into chat so you've got the direct link. On the employee ideas piece, is there any more detail you want me to dive into about it? Besides, it's a super easy thing since it's already there. It's really just a Power App and stores its data in Dataverse for Teams.
I was trying to play around with it, like the front end part. And I'm not exactly sure. Like, I don't know, what is the sample data and what is the data we're doing? Like when you first use it.
Yeah.
We can kind of play around with it a little more here.
Yeah, so the sample data is just making it so that it isn't a blank canvas, so you can see what it would look like to set up an idea campaign and already have one in there with suggestions. And that can be really useful when you're working with some sort of gatekeeper who gets to sign off on this or block it, but has no idea what it is or what it would be useful for. Way easier to be like, great, let's turn it on with the sample data for just me, and I can show you with the sample data there, both the end user experience and the back end management experience of somebody who put the campaign out there. You don't have to use the sample data, but that we try to make it super easy for people to just demonstrate what this thing is. There is a video that does like the 2-minute overview of what it looks like. And that, the customers I have that have this deployed today, if they didn't already have it just enabled by default, they probably just use the video to go and show people what it was. So that can be a real useful tool if you're trying to work with some gatekeeper to make sure that they understand what this is and why they should allow it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All right, and we'll pivot to the company communicator. So the company communicator template app is a solution that allows communications staff to en masse send chat messages or channel posts to communicate with people. So typically when we're working with a state and local government organization, IT might want this because they want to use this to supplement how they email people info like, hey, here's our announcements of what's all coming for changes in this next year. Hey, FY, there's going to be an outage next week. They might use the company communicator tool to go and, not just send an email, but also send a chat message, because the chat message is likely to get higher engagement than the email message. Outside of IT, your senior leaders, communications professional, this is the sort of thing that they love having in their toolkit. So if they're trying to figure out how do we effectively communicate and engage our entire workforce, Company Communicator is a really, really attractive solution. Now, that being said, as an app template, it's complicated and not something that a Teams administrator typically is going to be able to deploy on their own, because it uses a bunch of different Azure services. And while I've got a couple really lucky M365 admins that also have their own Azure subscription and can just go and deploy and play, they're the exception. So I brought up the chart, which is probably more, or the diagram, which is more intimidating than it really is. All these things in the middle, though, are Azure services. Now, the solution itself is a template. So you go and fill out the basic information and hit deploy, and it goes through and spins up all of these things for you. So it isn't like you have to go click through creating 5 functions and click through all of this stuff. And yet there are more than a 3-step set of instructions, right? The employee ideas was like, go find it from the store, deploy it, use it. This is going to require some meetings, right? Go find somebody with an Azure subscription. Go find somebody who can approve the budget for it, because this, in its most simple form, is going to cost about $70 a month in Azure fees, because it has the Azure App Service behind it. That Azure App Service plan, I think it requires an S1, which is like $71 a month.
Per license? Per
instance.
Okay.
So if you're going to have one instance of this app that everybody's going to share, the starting point is like $72 a month if you don't use it at all. And then if you use it all the time, and we've got, if you dig into this documentation, examples of like 300,000 or 400,000 employee organizations using this to send out messages multiple times per month, and they're like, yeah, it increased our cost like $6 a month to send out hundreds of thousands of messages. The consumption really, for most organizations, is going to be the sort of thing where you spend way more money talking about it than you actually will on the what you paid per message.
It's kind of a good deal.
Yep. Now, I do say per instance. The way this thing is set up is the people who have permission to use it have permission to use it. And so if you've set up certain groups like all staff and all IT staff, and you gave the IT communications person permission to the app and the chief executive's communication person access to it, it's one app, one group of users, one set of lists. There isn't like granular permissions of who can communicate to whom in the app. And so you may end up deciding that we can't all play in the same sandbox. This person can't be trusted to not communicate to the wrong people. So we'll build them a second app. Well, then we have a second $71 a month for that app registration. Not super expensive in terms of everything. And yet, if you're already on a shoestring budget and begging, better to all be able to play in the same sandbox, right? We're all here to keep our jobs and do things appropriately. Let's have a meeting to agree how we will and will not use the tool. And that's probably good enough. But if you already know that that's a non-starter, this communication staff will never partner with that communication staff or trust that one. Great. The solution is have more than one of these. But yeah, the quick recap is any place where a communicator would send an email to either everybody or a large group of people to get information out, to engage an audience, this allows them to take that experience into Teams, right? Send a chat message or send channel posts to specific teams. Typically, it's chat messages to groups of people that we see happening here. When I'm working with agency communications, staff or the governor's office communication staff, we're often talking about this as the, hey, how do I send that point in time communication, and Viva Connections desktop on how do I get that SharePoint site that has the standing communication there. And it oftentimes those are things that would go hand in hand. So if there's like a news article that they're putting on the SharePoint site, that communicator that people would see in the Viva Connections piece, I might draw people's attention to it by using Company Communicator to send a paragraph blurb with a link to the news article. All right, so those things can go hand in hand, and we talked Viva Connections desktop, I think 2 Cube sessions ago. It's in the recording. Maybe Stacy or Ricardo could find it. But yeah, so that's, I could go a lot more into this, but really I want to call out that there's a ton of support available from Microsoft if you want to do this. Get a hold of anybody from your account team, and they'll be able to help hook you up with the resources that will help coach through doing this. Like we have customer engineers who can speak both Teams and Azure to whoever they happen to be talking to make them understand what this is and isn't, how it works, what the deployment process looks like, and give you support if there's any hiccups along the way. Because this one is harder, right? There's more pieces, and almost in every organization, this requires more silos to be engaged. The Azure team that cares about infrastructure doesn't necessarily immediately see how this is beneficial to the business and why they should spend their time on it. Helping you thread that needle is something that your account team can do. Ricardo, or Stacy, am I missing anything on Company Communicator that I should share?
I think you hit it well. The part I like to think about with Company Communicator is that at the 10,000 foot view, the world that it kind of assumes and that I think is becoming a reality, which is our users are spending their day in Teams. And that's part of why this is valuable, why putting apps in Teams, why directing communications to Teams is valuable, because aren't we getting to a world where thankfully our users can have one tool that hits all the stuff going on in their teamwork, in their corporate communications, and so forth. And so, certainly this is about trying to get away from the noise of email. And so, if I would love, and maybe that's a separate session, but I would love to even hear from you guys in terms of, how that world is going for you, right? Are your orgs finding that you're doing your work in Teams and that's a good thing? Because I think that's what things like Company Communicator and these apps are really trying to help support, that one tool that gets it all done for you.
Yep. So like Stacy and I are on one team, Ricardo's on a different team, but we all roll up to the Microsoft United States team, and our senior leadership uses Company Communicator to, in addition to sending us an email, we get a chat message that draws our attention to what's going on and then gives us a link to their weekly most important content. When there's an outage and we get a chat message, hey, it's a different Company Communicator instance coming from Microsoft Internal IT. This is one of those places where I think our leadership team is actually doing a really good job of role modeling exactly how to use this type of tool to go and engage folks. So really, this is what we're talking about, though. It's a chat message with an adaptive card with a link on it that we can make pretty. And it could be a long, big formatted thing. It could be a short little blurb for attention. But I think really the legacy analog is email to a large email list, right? Instead, chat to a large group.
And it's got the potential for your creativity, as you can even see here, what we're looking at. It is a chat feed. There's a files tab and there's an about tab. There's nothing to say that there couldn't be more tabs there for, additional things. Maybe in addition to that feed of info you wanted, there's the, submit a support ticket or, whatever the things are.
A Microsoft form for feedback on, hey, was this communication tool medium useful to you, or are we just annoying you?
So that creativity about how to allow people to interact with that message and making sure that when I click a button, I'm still going to another team related area instead of opening a browser or opening up, some corporate app or something like that. So, possibilities are relatively endless.
Yeah. So, Kim, Glenn, you're asking in the context of this, if you send out that communication, can you recall it or edit it?
Somebody said that the wrong thing, or oh my God, even though 1,000 people look at it, there's still a mistake. Is there an undo, a delete, an edit feature, or is it's gone and I can't?
Not natively. You'd have to go and build that if you wanted to. So okay. In that regards, it's like email. You can send it and it's out the door. And even the whole idea of recalling an email is hard. This chatbot isn't sending one message. It's sending X number of messages for however many users you have. So this chat was a one-on-one chat between me and the bot. And the bot just sent out 10,000 or 20,000. How many people are in MSUS? A lot of thousands of one-on-one chat conversations. Could it go back in and edit a chat conversation? Yes. That's not built into the company communicator tool today.
Okay. That's
but
good to know.
It would be real cool if you built it and contributed it back to that GitHub repository. Sounds like a good job for an intern.
Glenn, was that your question too?
I'll tell you though that the user experience is designed to give you several pauses before you click send. It's baked into, so what Nash was saying about how you could build on approval processes and things, absolutely. But in the author app where these messages are put together, it has several boundaries like, are you sure? And it's going to be parked as a draft by default before it gets sent. There are a couple of steps that are going to make it difficult to mess up.
We'll argue that it is incrementally safer than sending an email to 12,000 people because of those structures. Does that mean you won't end up with somebody, with a typo or the link is wrong? No, we can't. Human error will still happen, but we do try to make it a little easier than, hey, you're emailing 12,000 people and you just hit send and there it's out the door. I hit that impulse send and then like a tenth of a second later, it will click that I just read a typo or something. It's like, I literally read it and then hit send and then consciously realized, oh, I shouldn't have hit send yet. So I get it. Us humans are fallible, but we do have a couple of different steps in there.
I have a completely different question, so I'm glad that the other person went first because hers was related to the previous subject. Okay, my question is, a manager in our group got in touch with me. He created breakout rooms for a specific purpose, and they had specific interaction in the breakout rooms. And then at the end, he deleted them all and deleted the conversations and deleted the breakout rooms. And then somebody in his group, now he was using the desktop Teams app, went into the web Teams app, and all the breakout rooms and conversations were still there, had not been deleted. And you have any idea what's going on there?
Well, we don't support deleting an entire conversation, so I would wonder what they deleted. So if he's talking about his conversations going into the chat from that breakout room meeting and hiding it, yeah, it just hides it for him.
Doesn't the organizer have the power to delete what other people wrote as well, besides just what he wrote?
So individual messages, the sender can always delete. But in a chat conversation, other people who are in that conversation, if it's a chat conversation or a group chat conversation, they do not have permission to delete what you wrote. In a channel conversation, which wouldn't be breakout rooms, right? Or could you do but in a channel conversation, that is a configurable option that's off by default. But there is an option to allow channel owners to delete other people's posts in teams that they own. But that's a pretty big corner case. Since that's off by default, most organizations don't allow that.
Could our system administrator have the power to switch that on?
Only for channel conversations, not for regular meeting chat, not for one-on-one chat, not for group chat. Unless Stacy or Ricardo, a new feature's coming, I didn't know about it, but I'm pretty sure that just isn't an option. So
Okay.
whatever when he said he deleted the conversation, even what we're talking about here isn't deleting a whole conversation. It's deleting an individual message. So remember, underneath the hood, the Office 365 messaging substrate is for chat, channel posts, and email. Really, these look like email under the hood, right? An email thread back and forth 50 times. Well, we might thread those things together in the view. They are 50 different messages. So when you go and try to delete a message that you've posted, it's like deleting that email from both your inboxes. But we don't have like a select all. We don't have the ability for you to go and delete other people's messages out of their inbox. It really works more like email than. Unfortunately, people equate this with Skype. It is not Skype. It was not designed to be Skype. It was designed to go and fix the way that most email conversations were being ineffective. And yet we oftentimes equate it to Skype and then get very disappointed when it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. So I think the key here is, what does that person mean when they say they deleted, and what's the end goal? Because certainly if you're, policies can, delete content, right? Just destroy it, right? If I've got a policy that says this thing shall be destroyed in 1 year, that's certainly possible. But an end user kind of cleanup, I'm almost curious as to what the goal there was in terms of, I want to destroy these breakout rooms and every, aspect of this meeting having occurred. And so, or is it just nobody else can get in and continue to chat? That'd be my question, if we dove more into it. But everything Nash said, right, in general, that end user ability to kind of delete other people's posts is not typically a feature.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So like this setting here, and I forgive me if you're not an administrator and a tenant, you can't see it. Delete sent messages means the person who sent it can delete it. Owners is referring to team owners. I think these are poorly labeled settings. If you have to go and look at the documentation to see what we're talking about. Now, the thing that I am unclear about is, can you even have a breakout room in a channel meeting? And if so, does that mean that a team owner could go in and delete those individual posts? If so, yes.
I did just try a channel meeting, a Meet Now channel meeting, and it had a breakout room button. So looks like that's there. I didn't try deleting stuff, but it does look like breakouts are in channels. Let owner,
yeah. Sent in chat. So even this documentation's bad. Like I'll work on fixing this. We're getting clarification. Owner of what? Owner of the meeting? Is that a thing? No, that's an organizer. Yeah, like owner, the only place we use owner is in the team ownership role. And there is no chat in a team. There are conversations or posts depending on what part we're looking at. So I'll try to get this clarified.
And then, Kim, to your question about preloading PowerPoint slides for a meeting, and my 30-second answer to that, certainly in a channel meeting, that's a common thing, right? The channel meeting is there. Everybody in that channel meeting has essentially got access to that team and the files area. So you can preload files as your heart's content, such that when I come into the meeting right there in chat, those PowerPoint, those files are ready to go for the participants to access, for you to access, and things like that. And then and it's per breakout room. Now I haven't tried that, to have pre-made breakout rooms and have those rooms have files in them. I'm not sure about that one. And then asking a learner to take over as a presenter. With the breakout. So that breakout rooms kind of throws a little wrench into my
I think the short question is populating breakout rooms with content.
Okay, yeah. That's one I'm going to make a note to kind of try out, because that would be interesting. I suspect the answer is no at this time. That'd be an interesting one. It's a very interesting use case. Create 3 breakout rooms, prep them with materials, and have
These
somebody
are
ready
Power
to take.
Skype users who are looking for one-to-one parity in Teams, and
Yeah.
almost there, but not quite.
And you did mention though you're doing unique rooms rather than actual breakout rooms. Is that right?
Yeah, the problem is the shared calendars don't allow for breakout rooms. We don't have license or shared mailboxes. That's a whole lot. We're waiting for multiple meeting organizers to hit the tenant. We're very excited about that.
Right. But in theory, unique rooms in a channel should all have the ability to, preload them.
Channels are the way to go. So thank you for that.
Yeah. You'll have some caveats if you're trying to get external people into those meetings, but if it's a team meeting and everybody's in that channel meeting, then you got a lot of flexibility there.
Thank you.
Well, and remember that other workaround for when we didn't have an integrated breakout rooms feature was just use separate meetings. So if you do have external people that couldn't do this with a channel, you can just have your normal meeting is what you invited everybody to. And then in the body of that normal meeting, have links to, your 5 breakout room meetings that really are separate meetings. You just didn't give people the calendar invite for it. And then you're just saying, hey, go to the meeting invite and go to your breakout room, and here's who was assigned there. Then they're just regular meetings, and pre-populating content is really, really straightforward.
Awesome. We appreciate it, guys. We're a little bit over here. Sorry to keep you, but we're glad you joined us, and great questions as always. They always keep me thinking. That's why I like doing these. I like hearing from you guys as much as talking about it. So hope to see you next week, and we'll keep this thing rocking and rolling, and check out aka.ms/Qt4Teams for the recordings and whatnot. We'll see you next week.